Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. My partner has presented in this evening some of the facets which you call channeling. And I'm here to tell you that you may study this all you want to and write it down, and there'll come a day when it's no longer needed. And that is where you're going. So let's just pause a moment and think of the history of the study of channeling. I would define channeling that you're hearing now as a human being who is in touch with the conduit that goes to the creative source and has practiced getting out of their own way with all of the emotions and the intellect put aside, being a blank slate, but with all of the tools of interpretation and communication. An artist would do this. Master painter, composition has to have the tools to paint, to carve, to compose. But when you use the conduit, in comes things that no human could do alone. In the past, dear ones, this was so difficult. My partner has a tendency to make it humorous. But let me tell you something, it was tough. The channelers of old had a tough road. The reason they looked odd in what they did was because it was tough to get through the darkness. This was a takeover, it had to be, because no human being had yet the tool to literally open up so much without the dark closing them down. And so it was a fight. The conduit was not always straight. Sometimes it would be interrupted. The channeling would be therefore tainted or biased, and the channeler wouldn't know. The dark and light balance in the old days was tough. The shamans in the room know that. In the past lives that you've had, it was a tough call for you to be who you were and yet survive. The channelers of simply 30 years ago had the same thing. 40 years ago, it was even harder. Let's take a moment and celebrate. Channelers that looked funny, who acted funny. For what they were doing was ultra courageous. Getting through to the other side of the veil to find the compassion and the love of God was slogging through dirt and mud, fear, horror, danger. And they did it anyway. And it took that which was a takeover, it had to be a total surrender. And it did age them. The cellular structures were always in a battle between light and dark. This was what caused them to jerk. This is what caused them to look funny. What my partner said early on, he would never be. Turn the page, today you have that which is much easier. The connection is open and it's clear. And the reason is because the dark-light balance is better today than it was 50 years ago. Better today, much better than 2012. It becomes so open that you're going to have to learn what it is you're seeing. For now, instead of slogging through mud and dirt, horror, fear, instead of the channel closing up on you, it opens. And in comes everything. And that everything is often what is in the field. The consciousness of the day sometimes looks like the other side of the veil and the creative source. They look the same because the channel is now wide open. Today, it takes more discernment than ever before, more practice than ever before to stay on course. That is the difference. So there are problems with old and new. But in the new, it is critical that the information be as clear as it can be. Because in the new, more are listening. I told you in one of the books that there come a day when everybody could talk to everybody and there would be no more secrets, no more deceptions. The transparency would be obvious. It's not quite there yet, but you see where it's going because of what you have and you call the net. When you know more about a country than its leaders do, it starts to tell you something. The relationships you know as well as the leaders, that's new. It's going to change politics. It's going to change leadership. Because millions will know at the same time exactly what is happening and where it's happening. That will change the next election. Who they will elect because they know more than they ever did before. It's going to be impossible to cover things up. It's going to be impossible to have deception. So, dear ones, the channeling of today compared to yesterday is much, much different for the reasons I gave. Now let's draw the line and go 50 years in the future, maybe 60. If you show up there and want to go to a channeling meeting in the New Age, there won't be any. The reason is the conduit has become automatic. Every single human being who gives free choice and intent to hear this information will have it automatically. It may take a century. That's free choice. How slow, how fast? It could be half a century. That's free choice. And what is the difference? I'll tell you. You might have heard my partner describe that if he puts 12 channelers on the stage and he knows of their integrity, they will give the same message in different ways. That would lead you to the conclusion that perhaps there is a single truth about life on the planet, about compassion, about the future, and that it is intuitively given to the channelers so that they will speak it in different ways. But the message is clear. Shift is here. There's compassion, there's love, there's change, there's evolution. Can you imagine a population of spiritual people who are all receiving the same message? And they don't have to go to a meeting to get it. That's where it's going. The past, present, after the shift, and the future of channeling is clear. From difficult to easier to automatic. This is the definition of the evolution of the human being. And that is only the beginning. But if this is true, you have to ask the question, well, is it only light workers who are going to receive these kinds of messages? And the answer is no. They're going to be they're going to have an appearance of being intellectual, emotional, automatic, and everyone is receiving them and they don't know it. You'll know it because there is a likeness of mind. There is a coherence of thought that you will see worldwide that starts to accept the fact that killing another human being is not something you can ever do. It is not an option under any circumstance. Even that which you would consider euthanasia will be questioned because there are other methods of healing. There are ways out of everything that you never had before. It's a new earth. It's a new human being. There'll be no more war. And you'll ask, how did that happen? Did they all get converted? And the answer is, in a way, they got converted to compassion. There are many boxes which you call spiritual belief with doctrines attached. They're all going to receive this. We told you that in the future, the evolution of religion will be different than you think. There are those who will say, well, religion will just simply go away. It can't exist because it's old energy. Dear ones, it's not old energy. It's the worship of God. That's not old energy. That's beautiful. And the difference will be the doctrines will start to shift and be more open, and they will say, it's all right to worship any way you want to the one God. It's all right to feel the compassion of one God. And if you do it on your nose, on a rug, it is proper and it's beautiful. If you're wearing a head cover in a certain area, it's beautiful. It doesn't matter. Because that's the evolution of religion. It's acceptance of the other one. The different ways for different people, the histories they have, the cultures they have, they're not going away. What will change is they will look at each other, smile, and say, it's the one God. You go your way, I go mine. Isn't it beautiful? Isn't it loving? Isn't it wonderful that we're friends? Allowance is maturity of compassion. It's coming. When humanity all starts to receive the channeling together of the same truth, the truth of God, of compassion, that's what's going to change this planet and begin something that only historians will be able to record. The end of an old era, the end of barbarism, call it what you want to, a dispensation of compassion. And light workers all over will hear this and they will say, when? And I'm going to tell you something. It won't matter. You're going to be here. Maybe it won't look the same. You're going to be here. You're going to participate in all of it. All of it. And I want you to just take a deep breath and understand you're going to be here to see some beautiful things. But today, you enter the battle between dark and light. The battle of discernment. There are those who will give up around you. There will be puzzles before you didn't expect. As light and dark begin to sort out the new energy. Dark will continue to raise its head, to scream and yell because it's losing, to come forward in different forms, to trick, to bring you back. Don't let anything bring you backwards. Don't go into fear, no matter what you hear. I'll tell you, these are times that are difficult, and you signed up for it. This battle, is between light and dark, and I'm sitting in front of light workers. They're the ones that are listening to this message. Dark cannot touch you if you don't let it. I mean the belief that you have, the God that you have inside. No one can touch it. Healer, listen. I'll say it again. Gone are the days when you have to have protection before you touch another human. You carry with you a bubble of light that is so magnificent that dark will run from you as you walk forward. Reader, it's the same. Channeler, it's the same. Start counting on it. Understand the dynamics of change. Be aware It'll never be like it was. If you're puzzled by this right now, you wait a while, and you will see things come forward that will help you to understand. You will not stay puzzled, dear ones, if you give intent for solution. Did you hear that? You will not stay puzzled if you give intent for solution. That is the message of channeling, that its days are limited in this form. Go from this place knowing things you did not know before. Think about these things. Have them contain spiritual logic. And so it is.